We just built 3 new schools in the Glades, as I spoke earlier, that were dilapidated and were allowed to exist for almost 45 to 60 years. And one of the things we did, we had a local preference, that we worked closely with the community. And just recently with the opening of West Tech, which was closed for 11 years by the school district, we have opened that to have career academies, pre-apprentice programs where we're getting young people now trained and educated, and we're hiring them on some of those sites that we're building right now in the Glades. We recognize local preferences, and we have an MWBE program that we look at very closely to make sure that we don't discriminate in the sense of making sure that we keep our dollars at home. And in District 6, I've made it a point to making that happen.
I've been fortunate enough in this race in my district to be endorsed by the local AFL-CIO union for Palm Beach County and Treasure Coast, and I've had conversations with many of their leaders about just that. We need to make sure that the contracts are first and foremost given preference to local organizations, because it's not just a matter of is this contractor from out of state or from out of county able to offer a cheaper contract. It's whether or not we keep money in our county, because then it multiplies in our county because it's spent in our local businesses and around our communities. So I think it's important to look at, it's called the money multiplier effect, and it's real simple. If you pay people in your community's money, the money will stay in your communities. If we contract out work at a small discount to other unions and to other contractors who might not be in our local area, we might save a couple dollars today, but that money disappears from our local economy. So it's extremely important in most cases if we are able to get competitive bidding where the local organizations and local contractors can offer us a service tantamount to what anyone else does, even if it's at a small premium. Again, the money stays in our communities. It creates jobs and opportunity, and that's more important than a short-term savings by shopping it out to some amount account.
I tell you, I sit before you today because of my dad. And my dad owns a small business, and his small business is the reason that I got through high school and college. He's from Italy, he came over, he's an immigrant, he doesn't have a high school education, and he was able to open up his own small business. And I believe that that is the reason that I get to be successful in my life, and I believe that is one of the most important drivers of our economy. And I have more respect for a small business owner than you would understand, because I've seen what it takes to run your own business from my dad, who's run it for 40 years. While we're talking about this briefly, I also want to say that I believe that not everybody in this world is meant to sit behind a desk, and I think that we need to focus on making sure that we create educational opportunities within our school system so that we can create more small business owners in our community, so that we can create more jobs, that people start it themselves, more entrepreneurs, and more people in our community that can do these jobs. Thank you.
Very briefly, the future of this country is in innovation. And that's exactly right. We have to encourage local business. We have to encourage students to take up careers that will enable them to start and promote businesses locally. And the school board absolutely should be supporting that.
Thank you, and I just want to say that the school board, it was unanimous, especially out in the Glades area, in the support of local preference, ensuring that the local contractors were involved with that building, and that we as a board have unanimously supported making sure that the MWBE piece, that component, is still there. And years ago when I came before the Coalition for Black Student Achievement, I spoke about the fact that I wanted more pre-apprenticeship and vocational programs, because my 2 boys were not college material. And they didn't get that kind of training. And if they had that opportunity, the opportunities that we're now going to have in the West with the new tech center, they would have not struggled when they first came out of school. So thank you for continuing to be a voice and reminding us of what's important in the community.
So, you know, I've always said throughout my campaign, I don't tell people what they want to hear, I just tell what I think, and you can vote for whoever. I think as public administrators, public servants, we have a responsibility to, when we have public money, to minimize the cost. Now, granted, I agree with the anti-discrimination with, you know, we have policy 3.19 for race, gender, all that kind of stuff, and not discriminate against contractors for that stuff. But if there's multiple bids for a job, I think the district should go with the most cost competitive bid, assuming that they're also similar quality, that you're not getting a person with a terrible Better Business Bureau record. I am a free market person. I believe in free competition and not putting artificial barriers, saying we have to have like a policy that says we have to use a local contractor or not. Again, I think we progress by competition, and if other non-local people are able to do it more effectively, unfortunately, because it's private dollars, or public money, and we have to be stewards for the public's dollars, I would say to go with the most cost-effective contract. Hopefully that's a local person, but if not, then I would have to unfortunately go for the non-local person in the interest of saving money so that we can build another high school in Riviera Beach.
Question. I don't believe the bidding process for contracts in this county has been anywhere near transparent. In fact, what I would tell you is this. I was at a school board meeting recently, and a gentleman came down from New Jersey, and I had a chance to speak with him. He flew all the way down from New Jersey, and I spoke with him after the meeting. He said, Mr. Hartman, he said, the bidding process here is flawed. He said, I thought New Jersey was bad. People aren't getting the contracts because there's not transparency, and people can shake their head. I see a lady here shaking her head. I'm going to come forward with this information very soon. I will show you where the contracts are going. I will show you who's getting the contracts, and I can tell you it's a good old boy system that goes back in this county very, very far, people. Shake your head. I won't prove it. The streets are talking.
North Tech Educational Center had been closed down for 16 years. Just last week, they graduated 105 people from the community in HVAC, plumbing, electrical, carpentry, the whole works. We are moving with career academies, pre-apprentice programs, and we're getting our students and our community ready just for those local jobs.
Sorry, but since they are in Riviera Beach, can we hear from the two candidates that are vying for this district, if you don't mind, because we didn't hear from them at all on this question.
It was the minority businesses in this community that built it. And it should be the minority businesses that reap the benefits of the community that they built. Yes, we must make sure that our minority businesses are getting the contracts in order to build out here in Riviera Beach. It was built up by them, so why not? Why should they not be getting and reaping the benefits of what they built? So for me, Councilman Thomas, for me, yes, we will do everything we can on the board to make sure that the minority businesses and contractors are getting the contracts so that they too can reap the benefits of what was built here in Riviera Beach.
And that is why the Palm Beach County School Board is the only governmental agency in the county that has a minority women business enterprise program. And we have that program, Councilman Thomas, because about 12 years ago, I almost had to go to law school to fight for it by myself, okay? And at the same time, the county's program sunset. Ours remains, the current board reaffirmed it. We're in the process of doing our disparity study to update that data. We have a contract with a nationally renowned attorney who is the expert in this area to make sure that our program is as strong as it possibly can be and be legally defensible. So yeah, absolutely, the answer is yes. But now as to the local hiring, I want to be clear, there's a difference between local preference for contractors and local hiring. Now, I am all for local hiring. I have nothing against local preference for contractors, but what I want to be clear about is I want to make sure that it's people that live in our community that are getting a paycheck and not just people who have their business office in our community. Now, I think that the issue you might be talking about is the management of contracts. And so, you know, the devil is always in the details. It is important that the contractor abides by the terms of their contract, but if there's any problem or question, you just have to bring it to my attention. You know me well enough to know that I dig in and get the matters handled. Thank you.
Channel 12 over a year ago did a methodical scientific poll of taxpayers as it relates to putting metal detectors in schools in Palm Beach County. It is an issue.
that we parents are definitely concerned about. As you know, almost every other week, every month, there are shootings, are weapons getting on campuses. Now, they're not being brought in, most of them are not being brought in by outsiders, but they're being brought in by students. Police officers and cameras do not prevent students from bringing weapons on campus, but metal detectors can be a big deterrent. It's not 100% sure, but I want to know that my granddaughter can go to a school and not a student can bring a weapon on campus because there's a metal detector like there is for City Hall, libraries, and everything else. If elected, what would you do?
I put metal detectors in, very simple.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I mean, you read the news all the time. It's like these school violence is a common occurrence now. And I even mentioned it in another forum. I know it's controversial, but I think that teachers should actually, the ones who want to, not a mandate, but that teachers themselves should be able to have a gun if they have a CCW. They're subjected to additional training. Like every month they have to go stay current. Because, you know, think about it. If the police department didn't have guns, criminals wouldn't fear them. If there's a guy committing a crime and the cops are coming and they don't have a gun, they're like, that's just the cops. You know, I'll shoot them when they get here. So, unfortunately, I kind of agree with a lot of what the NRA says with this is, if you have a bad guy with a gun, I think a good guy with a gun can save. Because if somebody starts doing something bad at a Riviera Beach school, you have to wait, even if it's 5 minutes. A lot of bad things can happen in 5 minutes. But there's a guy who shoots for sport every week. He's at the gun range. Why shouldn't he be able to have one? They run background checks on these guys. They have their permits, they practice, and that can help keep kids safe if they do get the gun through the metal detector. So I support both metal detectors as well as allowing competent people who want to carry guns with additional training to do so.
And my position has really evolved on this because every day our babies are getting killed and guns are going into school, and we see what happened up north. So not only do we need the metal detectors, but we're going to have to, and we've got to find the money for this, we're going to have to make sure it's single entry into the schools, because you know that they can go through those metal detectors and have someone throw something over the fence. So I don't know what the answer is going to be, because we're going to have to target certain areas where we are getting the most shootings, such as Riviera Beach, figure out what we can do so that they can't push the gun underneath the fence or whatever, because you know kids are going to be real creative, but we've got to do something to stop the violence in our
You're not getting more
community.
shootings in Riviera Beach. That's not true.
Pardon me?
You're getting shootings all over.
No, it's all over. It's spreading out.
So
It's
don't-
spreading out. Point Beach, we have the same thing. We had a student with a gun down at one of my middle schools recently,
Thank you.
and it didn't get a lot of press. But the problem is that school's also not secure. So we've got to make sure that we make the walls around those schools secure, that we make sure that nobody can gain access, and that we have single entries that can be monitored by everybody. And it's not only the students. It's not only the students, for all students, but also for the visitors visiting the school.
Thank you.
Because we see